The first thing we found inside our new house was not a welcome note. It was a warning. And the worst part was, every family that lived there before us left the exact same warning. When we bought the house, we thought we had finally found a place where we would grow old. A quiet home, a safe neighborhood, a place where our children could make memories. We had no idea we were moving into a house that had been waiting for another family, our family. My name is Daniel Carter, and 3 years ago, my wife Olivia and I bought what we thought was our dream home. At the time, we were exhausted. We had spent almost 5 years living in a small apartment with 2 children, constantly fighting for space. Our daughter Emma was 9 years old, and our son Noah was 6. They were good kids, curious, imaginative, the kind of children who could turn a cardboard box into a spaceship and spend an entire afternoon pretending the living room was another planet. But our apartment was too small. There was no backyard, no quiet place for them to play, no room for them to grow. So when we saw the house for sale, we knew immediately. It was everything we wanted. A 2-story farmhouse sitting at the end of a long road, 5 bedrooms, a huge backyard, an old wooden porch that wrapped around the front, tall trees surrounding the property, and behind the house, a lake. The pictures online looked like something from a movie, the kind of place where families have barbecues in summer and drink coffee on the porch during winter. The price, however, was strange. The house was almost $200,000 cheaper than similar properties nearby. When I asked the realtor why, she smiled. It just needs someone who appreciates older homes. That answer bothered me. Older homes usually have problems, bad plumbing, old wiring, foundation issues. But after the inspection, everything checked out. The house was old, but it was solid, so we bought it. And that's when the strange things started. The day we moved in, our children ran through the house like they had discovered a castle. Emma claimed the bedroom at the end of the upstairs hallway because it had a window facing the lake. "I can see the moon from here," she said. Noah wanted the room beside hers because he didn't want to sleep too far away. My wife laughed. "They're already planning their lives here." At the time, we laughed too. Looking back, I wish we had paid more attention to how quickly they felt comfortable. Children notice things adults ignore. They feel things we explain away. The first strange thing happened 3 days after moving in. I was unpacking boxes in the basement when I noticed something behind an old wooden cabinet. The cabinet looked like it had been there for decades. I moved it because I wanted to use the space. Behind it was a small section of wall covered with scratches. At first, I thought it was damage from moving furniture. Then I looked closer. The scratches weren't random. They formed words. Someone had carved into the wood deep enough that the letters were still visible after years. The message said, "If you find this, you are already too late." I stared at it for a long time. My first thought was that some previous owner had a strange sense of humor. Maybe teenagers had done it. Maybe it was some kind of prank. I took a picture and went upstairs. When I showed Olivia, she didn't laugh. "Daniel, what? Who would carve that into a wall?" I shrugged. "Someone trying to scare the next owner." She looked at me. "Why?" I didn't have an answer. That night, something woke me up. I don't know what time it was. The house was completely silent. I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling. At first, I thought it was nothing. Then I heard it. A sound coming from downstairs. A child laughing. Soft. Quiet. Like someone trying not to be heard. I sat up. Beside me, Olivia opened her eyes. "You heard that too?" I nodded. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then we both looked toward the hallway. Emma, Noah, our children. The sound came again. A little girl laughing. My stomach tightened because it sounded exactly like Emma. I got out of bed. "Stay here." I walked across the hallway. Emma's bedroom door was slightly open. I pushed it wider. She was asleep. Her face was buried in her pillow. I stepped inside. "Emma?" Nothing. She didn't move. I walked closer. She was definitely sleeping. I looked back toward the hallway. The laughter stopped. I returned to my bedroom. "She's asleep." Olivia looked worried. Then who was laughing? I didn't answer because I didn't have one. The next morning, we tried to forget about it. Families hear strange sounds in old houses, pipes, wood expanding, neighbors, animals. There is always an explanation. At least that's what I told myself. Until Emma came downstairs holding something. "Dad?" I looked up from my coffee. "What is it?" She held a folded piece of paper. "I found this behind my bed." My heart sank. "Behind your bed?" She nodded. "Was it there when you moved in?" "I don't know." I opened the paper. The handwriting was old, faded, but the message was clear. There were only 4 words. "Do not trust the laughter." I felt the room become colder. Olivia read it over my shoulder. Neither of us spoke. Then Noah walked into the kitchen. He looked at the paper, and his face changed. "Dad," I turned. "What?" He pointed upstairs. "The girl who laughs." My hand tightened around the paper. "What girl?" He looked confused. "The girl in my room." The room went completely silent. "What did you say?" Noah looked at me like I was the one being strange. "The girl who sits at the corner." Olivia immediately stood up. "Noah, what girl?" He shrugged. "I don't know her name." My voice became quieter. "When did you see her?" "Last night." My heart started racing. "What did she look like?" Noah looked toward the stairs, like he was afraid she could hear him. "She looked like Emma." I felt every hair on my arm stand up. "What do you mean?" He whispered. "She looked like Emma, only older." I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I believed my son had seen something supernatural. I didn't. At least, I didn't want to. I told myself there had to be a normal explanation. Children imagine things. Old houses make strange noises. Moving to a new place can make kids feel unsettled. That was the explanation I repeated over and over. But there was one thing I couldn't explain. The note. "Do not trust the laughter." Someone had written that before we ever moved in. Someone had hidden it behind my daughter's bed, and someone had carved a warning into the basement wall. Those weren't things my 6-year-old son imagined. After breakfast, I decided to investigate the house properly. I started with the bedrooms. Emma's room was exactly how she left it. Her toys were organized on shelves. Her books were stacked beside her bed. Nothing unusual. But when I moved her bed away from the wall, I noticed something. There were scratches on the wooden floor, not new scratches, old ones. Several long marks running from the wall toward the center of the room, almost like something heavy had been dragged across the floor. I crouched down and looked closer. Near the corner, hidden beneath the carpet, was another message. This one was written directly on the floorboards. 3 words. "It comes back." I stood there frozen, because now I knew something. The previous owners weren't joking. They were afraid. I called our realtor, Karen. She answered immediately. Daniel, how's the new house? I paused. Karen, I need to ask you something. Her voice changed. What happened? How many families lived in that house before us? A long silence followed. Too long. Why are you asking that? Because I found messages. Another pause. What kind of messages? Warnings. I heard her take a breath. Daniel, Karen, please, just tell me. She was quiet for several seconds. Then she said, 3. 3 families? Yes. And what? Why did they leave? She didn't answer. That was when I knew she already knew something. Karen, finally she spoke. The first family stayed 4 months. And the second? 7 weeks. And the third? Her voice became almost a whisper. 11 days. I felt my stomach drop. What happened to them? I don't know. You don't know. No one knows exactly. I stood up. Karen, what does that mean? She sighed. The families left everything behind. I looked around the house. Our furniture, our children's toys, our pictures, everything we owned. What do you mean, everything? Their cars were gone. Their phones were gone. Their wallets were gone. She paused, but their clothes were still hanging in the closets. I didn't speak. They packed nothing. Why? Because they left in the middle of the night. That afternoon, I drove to the town's historical office. I told myself I was just looking for information about the house. Nothing more. The woman working there, an elderly lady named Margaret, recognized the address immediately. Her expression changed when I said the name. The Whitmore house? I nodded. That's what it was called before. What happened there? She looked uncomfortable. People still talk about that place. Why? She lowered her voice. Because nobody stays. I sat across from her. I need the truth. She studied my face. Then she opened an old filing cabinet. After several minutes, she placed a folder on the table. Inside were newspaper clippings. The first was from 1987. Local family abandons home after strange incidents. The article described a family named the Reynolds. They claimed they heard voices inside the house. They claimed their daughter spoke about a woman who lived upstairs. The police investigated. They found nothing. The family left. The second article was from 2004. Another family. Same story. Strange noises, missing objects, a child claiming to see someone inside the house. Then another article, the most recent one, only 3 years old. The headline made my hands go cold. Family flees home after daughter's disappearance. I quickly read the article. A family named the Miller family had moved in. They had one daughter, a girl named Lily. According to the article, the parents reported that Lily disappeared for almost 6 hours inside the house. When they found her, she was sitting in an empty bedroom, a bedroom that did not exist on the house plans. She kept repeating one sentence. She told me she was waiting for the next family. I drove home faster than I should have. The entire way, one thought kept repeating, next family, us. When I arrived, the house looked exactly the same, beautiful, peaceful, almost innocent. But now, I saw it differently. The shadows seemed darker. The windows seemed like eyes watching me. I entered through the front door. Olivia? No answer. Kids? Nothing. Then I heard movement upstairs, a child's voice. Mom? I ran upstairs. Emma was standing outside Noah's bedroom. Her face was pale. What happened? She pointed inside. Dad. I walked into Noah's room. At first I saw nothing. Then I noticed his closet. The door was open. Inside, written across the back wall, was another message. But this one was different. It wasn't carved. It wasn't scratched. It looked fresh, like someone had written it minutes earlier. It said, "You were warned." My heart stopped, because underneath those words was a second sentence, a sentence that made me immediately grab my children. "Now she knows your names." That night, I made a decision. We were leaving. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about the house. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for decades. I packed bags while Olivia kept asking questions. "Daniel, what is happening?" "I don't know." "Are you saying you believe this?" I looked at my children, then at the hallway. "No," I paused, "but I believe someone does." At 11:30 p.m., we carried our bags downstairs. The plan was simple. Get in the car, drive to a hotel, figure everything out later. But when I opened the front door, I froze, because sitting on the porch was a box, an old wooden box, and carved into the top were 5 words, "For the next family." Inside the box was a stack of photographs. Every family who had lived in the house. The Reynolds, the Millers, the others, and finally, a picture of us. Taken that same day, a picture of my family standing in front of the house. Except we never took that picture. And in the background, standing upstairs behind Emma's bedroom window, was a woman looking down at us, watching, waiting. For several seconds, nobody moved, nobody spoke. We just stood there in the hallway staring at the photograph. My wife Olivia was the first person to react. She grabbed the picture from my hand. "Daniel," her voice was shaking, "where did you get this?" I pointed toward the front door, the box. She looked at the photo again, then toward the stairs. "That's impossible." I nodded, because she was right. It was impossible. The picture showed our family standing outside the house. Me, Olivia, Emma, Noah. The same clothes we were wearing that morning, the same positions, the same expressions. Even the small coffee stain on my shirt was there. But the picture had been taken from the second-floor window, from inside the house. Someone had been standing in Emma's bedroom, taking a picture of us. I grabbed my phone. "We're calling the police." Olivia didn't argue. For the first time since we moved in, she looked as scared as I felt. I dialed 911, but before the call connected, the lights went out. The entire house became completely dark. Then we heard it, a child's laughter, from upstairs. Emma grabbed my arm. "Dad," I looked at her. Her face was pale. "I didn't do that." "I know." The laughter continued, but this time it wasn't coming from one place. It sounded like it was moving, from room to room, slowly, like someone walking through the upstairs hallway. Olivia whispered, "Daniel." "What? Where's Noah?" My blood ran cold. I looked around. Noah wasn't beside us anymore. "Noah?" No answer. I ran upstairs. "Noah!" The hallway was empty. His bedroom door was open. Inside, his bed was untouched. The window was closed. But on the wall, another message, fresh, written in black ink. "He came when she called." My hand started shaking. "No." I ran through every room, the bathroom, the guest room, the closet, nothing. Then I heard something, a quiet voice, coming from the end of the hallway. "Noah?" It wasn't Noah. It was a woman's voice, soft, almost gentle. "He's sleeping." I slowly turned. At the end of the hallway stood a woman. For 1 second, I couldn't move. She looked like an ordinary person. Long, dark hair, a pale dress, bare feet. She looked like she belonged there, like she had always lived there. Then she smiled and said, "You shouldn't have ignored the warnings." I don't remember running. I don't remember reaching her. I only remember grabbing Noah. He was standing beside her, eyes open, but completely still, like he was asleep while standing. I picked him up. The woman didn't stop me. She just watched. Olivia reached the hallway and screamed when she saw her. "Who are you?" The woman looked at her, then at Emma, then back at me. "My family lived here first." The hallway became freezing cold. "What did you do to my son?" The woman tilted her head. "I saved him." "Saved him from what?" She looked around the house. "From what lives here." The police arrived 20 minutes later, but when they searched the house, they found nothing. No woman, no footprints, no sign anyone had been inside. The officer who spoke with us seemed concerned, but also confused. "Are you sure your son wasn't just sleepwalking?" I wanted to scream. But then something happened. The officer walked into Noah's room. He stopped. "What is that?" I followed him. On the wall was the message. "He came when she called." The officer touched it. "It's paint." I looked at him. "What?" "Fresh paint." My stomach dropped. "When did you paint this room?" "I didn't." He looked at Olivia. She shook her head. "No." The officer looked uncomfortable. "Then someone did." We left that night. We didn't stay. We didn't pack. We grabbed our children and drove to a hotel. For 3 days, we didn't go back. We contacted lawyers. We contacted the realtor. We tried to figure out how to sell the house. But something strange happened. Nobody wanted to discuss it. The realtor stopped answering. The lawyer we contacted suddenly said he couldn't help us. The town officials refused to talk. It was like everyone knew something, and everyone agreed to stay silent. On the 4th day, I received a letter. No stamp, no return address. Just my name written on the front. Inside was 1 page, a handwritten note. I recognized the handwriting immediately. The same handwriting from the warnings. It said, "You think the house is the problem? It isn't. The house is the only thing keeping her contained." I read the sentence 3 times, then continued. "Every family before you made the same mistake. They ran. And when they left, she followed." I dropped the paper because underneath those words was a final message. She is not inside the house anymore. That evening, something happened that changed everything. We were sitting in our hotel room, trying to pretend we were safe. Then Emma suddenly looked towards the window. "Dad?" "What?" "Why is that lady standing outside?" My entire body went cold. I slowly turned. Outside the 4th floor hotel window was the woman standing in the parking lot, looking directly at us. Impossible. We were 4 floors up. The window was locked. And yet, she raised one hand and waved. The next morning, we returned to the house, not because we wanted to, because we realized something. Running was exactly what every other family had done, and it never worked. The house wasn't the beginning. It was the cage, and somehow we had just opened the door. When we arrived, the front door was already open. Inside, everything looked untouched, except for one thing. The basement door. The door that had always been locked was now wide open. A staircase led down into darkness, but our house only had a small basement. At least, that's what the blueprint said. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped inside. At the bottom of the stairs was a hallway that shouldn't exist. On both sides were doors, and on every door was a family name. The first door, Reynolds. The second, Miller. The third, Carter. Our family. I reached for the handle. Then I heard something from inside. A voice, my own voice, whispering, "Don't open the door." I stepped back because I knew that voice. It was mine, but I had never said those words. I stood there in that hidden basement hallway, staring at the door with my family's name carved into it. Carter. My hand was still hovering inches away from the handle. Behind the door, I could hear my own voice. "Don't open the door." Again, a perfect copy. Same tone, same breathing, same hesitation. But there was something wrong, something I couldn't explain. It sounded like me, but it didn't sound alive. It sounded like a recording of me from a place I had never been. Olivia grabbed my arm. "Daniel," I looked at her, "we need to leave." For once, I agreed. We turned around, and that's when we realized something terrifying. The stairs were gone. Where the staircase had been moments earlier, there was only a blank wall, no door, no stairs, no way out. Olivia immediately started panicking. "Daniel, what is happening?" I grabbed my flashlight and ran my hand along the wall, solid, cold, real. I hit it, nothing. I hit it harder, nothing. Then a sound came from behind us, a door opening, slowly, creaking. We turned. The door with our family name was open, even though neither of us touched it. Inside was not a bedroom, not a storage room. It was our house, our actual living room. The same furniture, the same pictures, the same decorations, except everything looked older, covered in dust, like the room had been abandoned for years. On the wall above the fireplace was a photograph, a family picture, but it wasn't our family. It was us, older, much older. I stepped closer. My hands started shaking. The picture showed me with gray hair, Olivia with wrinkles around her eyes. Emma was an adult. Noah looked like he was in his 20s, and behind us, standing in the corner, was the woman. I dropped the picture. "No." Olivia picked it up. Her face changed. "Daniel, I know." She looked at me. "How is this possible?" I didn't answer, because there was no answer. Then we heard footsteps coming from the room behind us. A man's voice whispered, "You're not supposed to see this yet." We turned around. A man was standing in the doorway, older, maybe in his 60s. His face was familiar, not because I knew him, because I had seen him before. In the photographs, he was one of the previous owners, the Reynolds family, the first family. "Who are you?" I asked. The man looked tired, like someone who hadn't slept in years. "My name is Thomas Reynolds." Olivia stepped closer. "But you disappeared." He gave a sad smile. "No." He looked around the room. "We escaped." I felt a chill. "Then why are you here?" His eyes moved toward the hallway. "Because nobody escapes completely." Thomas told us the truth, or at least the truth he had discovered. The house was built in 1924, but before it was a house, it was something else, a place where a woman named Evelyn Whitmore lived. She was the original owner. According to old records, Evelyn lost her daughter during a winter storm. The girl disappeared in the woods behind the property. They searched for weeks, but they never found her. Evelyn refused to accept that her daughter was gone. She became obsessed. She started performing strange rituals, not because she wanted power, not because she was evil, because she wanted her daughter back. And one night, something answered. "She got her daughter back," Thomas said. "But it wasn't her daughter." I swallowed. "What was it?" Thomas looked toward the hallway. The thing that came back knew everything about the girl. Her memories, her voice, her face, but it wasn't human. According to Thomas, Evelyn spent years trying to control what she had brought into the world, but she failed. The thing learned something important. Families were easier to control than individuals. Children were easier to influence, and the house became its prison. Every family that moved in unknowingly became part of the trap. The warnings, I said. Thomas nodded. Every family discovered pieces of the truth. Why didn't they tell anyone? Because once it knows your family, he stopped. What? It can follow you. I looked toward the door. The woman. Thomas nodded. She isn't Evelyn. My stomach tightened. Then who is she? Thomas looked at me. Nobody knows. Not anymore. Suddenly, the lights in the hidden hallway flickered. A child's voice came from somewhere behind us. Dad! I froze. Emma! I turned around. She was standing at the end of the hallway, but I knew immediately something was wrong, because Emma was still upstairs, with Noah, with Olivia, with me. I looked beside me. Olivia was still there. So was Emma. The girl at the end of the hallway smiled. Dad. Her voice sounded exactly like my daughter. Why did you leave me? Emma beside me started crying. Dad, I'm right here. The other Emma tilted her head. No, she whispered. I'm the one you forgot. The hallway changed. The walls started moving. The doors began opening one by one. Behind each door were memories. The Reynolds family, the Miller family, every family. The house wasn't just showing us rooms. It was showing us their worst moments, their fears, their regrets, their failures. Then one door opened, a door with no name. Inside was a small bedroom, a child's bedroom. On the wall were hundreds of drawings. All of them showed the same thing, a family and a shadow standing behind them. Thomas looked at the room. That's where she keeps them. Who? The memories. I stared at him. What does that mean? He looked at me with fear. The house doesn't want families to leave. It doesn't want their bodies. It wants their stories. A loud sound echoed through the basement. A door slammed shut, then another, then another. The house was changing. Thomas looked terrified. She's awake. Who? He looked at me. The one who owns this place now. The hallway lights went out, and in the darkness, a woman's voice whispered, Daniel. I froze because she didn't say my name like a stranger. She said it like she had known me my entire life. I've been waiting for you. The flashlight flickered back on. Thomas was gone. The hidden hallway was gone. The staircase was back. We were standing in the basement, but something had changed. On the wall behind us, a new message appeared. Fresh, still dripping. It said, The last family always stays. I grabbed Olivia's hand. We ran upstairs. We grabbed our children, and for the first time, we didn't run away from the house. We ran toward the truth, because now we understood something. The previous families weren't trying to escape. They were trying to warn us. And the reason they all failed was because they discovered the truth too late. The first thing I noticed when we reached the top of the basement stairs was that the house was quiet. Too quiet. Not the normal quiet of an empty home. A waiting quiet, the kind of silence you feel when someone is standing in the next room watching you. I held Noah's hand. Olivia held Emma's. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. We all felt it. The house was no longer pretending. We rushed toward the front door. I grabbed the handle, pulled. Nothing. Locked. I tried again, harder. The door wouldn't move. Daniel! Olivia's voice was shaking. I looked back. Every door in the hallway was slowly closing, one by one, Bedroom doors, closet doors, the basement door, like the house was sealing itself. Then we heard a voice behind us, a woman's voice. "You always leave the same way." We turned. She was standing at the top of the stairs. The woman, the one from the photographs, the one who had followed us, the one who knew our names before we ever told her. She looked exactly the same. Not older, not younger, like time had forgotten her. Emma stepped closer to me. "Dad," I moved in front of my children. "Stay behind me." The woman smiled. "You are exactly like the others." I stared at her. "Who are you?" For the first time, her expression changed. She looked sad, not angry, not evil. Sad. My name was Evelyn. The room became colder. The first woman who lived here. I looked at Olivia. The stories were true. "You lost your daughter?" Her eyes moved toward the upstairs hallway. "Yes." "And you brought something back?" She looked down. "I thought I did." The woman walked slowly into the room. "I spent 20 years searching for my daughter." 20 years? I prayed. I begged. I offered anything. Her voice became softer. Then one night, something answered. Nobody moved. It came wearing her face. I felt a chill. It knew her favorite song. It knew the stories I told her. It knew how she laughed. But a mother knows her child. She looked at us, and I knew immediately. That wasn't my daughter. Then why is it still here? The woman looked around the house. Because I made a mistake. What mistake? She looked at the walls. I invited it in. A pause. Then I spent the rest of my life trying to keep it trapped. I remembered the hidden hallway, the rooms, the families. "The house," she nodded. "The house is not the monster." That sentence shocked me. "Then what is?" She looked toward the ceiling. The thing pretending to be one of us. Suddenly, Noah pointed behind her. "Dad!" I looked. Standing at the end of the hallway was another Noah. My heart stopped. The copy looked exactly like my son. Same face, same clothes, same voice. "Dad?" It smiled. "Don't listen to her." Emma started crying. "Noah is right here." The fake Noah looked at her. "She doesn't know which one is real." My body went cold because for a second, I didn't know either. The woman screamed, not at us, at the other Noah. "Enough!" The entire house shook. Pictures fell from the walls. The lights exploded. The fake Noah smiled. And then its voice changed. It wasn't a child's voice anymore. It was something deeper, something older. "You failed again, Evelyn." The woman stepped forward. "You don't get them." The thing laughed, a horrible sound. "You said that with every family." Then I understood. The previous families weren't random. They weren't victims. They were part of a battle that had been happening for almost a century. Every family that entered the house became another chance, another attempt to contain it. But every family failed because they ran. I looked at the woman. "If you knew this would happen, why didn't you warn us?" Her eyes filled with sadness. "I tried." The warnings, the messages, the photographs, they were all me. I froze. "You left those?" She nodded. "I could only communicate through the house. The thing inside controls what people see, what they hear, what they believe." The fake Noah stepped closer. "Dad!" I looked at him. He smiled. "You know I'm your son." The real Noah grabbed my hand tighter. "Dad!" Both voices sounded identical. Both looked identical. Then I remembered something small, something only a father would know. I looked at the fake Noah. "What did you ask for your birthday last year?" It froze, only for a second, but I saw it. The hesitation. The real Noah answered immediately. "A telescope?" My eyes filled with tears, because that was my son. The fake Noah's face changed. The smile disappeared. The thing screamed. The walls shook. The floor cracked. The house began falling apart. The woman shouted, "Now, Daniel!" I looked at her. Now what? The room. What room? The room you found. The hidden room. The memory room. I understood. The house wasn't holding families. It was holding the creature. The only way to end it was to destroy the place where it kept its power. I grabbed the family. We ran, not toward the door, toward the basement. The creature chased us. It changed voices. My wife, my children, my own voice, trying to make us stop. But we didn't. We reached the hidden hallway again. The doors were open. The final room waited. Inside were thousands of photographs, thousands of memories, thousands of families. I picked up the first photograph, the Reynolds, the second, the Millers, every family, every story, every person who had been trapped. Then I saw something, a photograph at the very bottom, a photograph of Evelyn's daughter, the real one, the girl who disappeared, and behind her, the shadow, the thing. It had been following her before Evelyn ever called it. The woman appeared beside me. "Now you know." I looked at her. "It was never brought here." She shook her head. "No, it was always here." The creature entered the room. The walls started shaking. It whispered, "Families always leave." I looked at my wife, at my children. Then I looked at all the photographs, all the families who never got a chance. "No." I grabbed the old photographs. "You leave." I threw them into the fireplace in the center of the room. The creature screamed. The entire house shook. The photographs burned. The memories disappeared. One by one, the voices stopped. The shadows faded. And finally, the house became silent. When we woke up, it was morning. We were outside. The house was still standing. But something was different. It felt empty, normal. The police arrived. The house was investigated. They found hidden rooms, old documents, evidence of families who had disappeared. But they never found Evelyn, or the photographs, or any explanation for what happened. We never lived there again. We sold the property. Actually, we couldn't sell it. Nobody wanted it. Eventually, the town demolished the house. At least, that's what they told us. 3 months later, I received a package. No address, no sender. Inside was one photograph. My family, standing in front of the old house. I turned it over. Written on the back were 5 words. The house was not destroyed. I threw it away. I tried to forget. For years, I succeeded. Until last night, at exactly 1:07 a.m. My daughter Emma called me. She was 16 now. Her voice was trembling. "Dad, what happened?" She was silent. Then she whispered, "I heard someone laughing downstairs." My heart stopped, because before she said anything else, I heard it. Through the phone, a child's laughter, and then a woman's voice, softly saying, "Daniel, I've been waiting." If you like stories like this, leave a comment, subscribe, like, and hit notification button for more stories like this.